in a small African town where opportunity was rare and dreams often traveled farther than the people who dreamed them. Two sisters lived under the same roof. They were close in age, but their lives were moving in very different directions. The older sister, Amina, had always been the responsible one. Quiet, hard-working, patient, she spent years studying late at night, helping her mother during the day, and saving every small amount of money she earned. Her dream was simple. One day she wanted to travel abroad. Not for luxury, not for fame, but for a better life. The younger sister, Zara, was different. Zara loved beautiful things, expensive clothes, fancy phones, the kind of life she saw on social media every day. She believed success should come quickly, and she hated watching her sister slowly build the future she believed she deserved more. For years, the sisters shared the same small room. They shared clothes, they shared food. But secretly, Zara shared something else: jealousy. She watched Amina succeed step by step while her own plans failed again and again. Job interviews that led nowhere. Business ideas that collapsed. Friends who promised opportunities but disappeared when money was involved. Slowly, the jealousy grew into something darker: resentment. Then one evening, something happened that changed everything. Amina came home from work earlier than usual. Her face looked brighter than Zara had ever seen it. Their mother noticed immediately. "Amina, what happened?" Amina sat down slowly and took a deep breath. Then she said the words that would start the chain of events. "I got the visa." The room fell silent. Their mother covered her mouth in disbelief. A visa? To where? France. Amina explained that after months of paperwork, interviews, and waiting, her application had been approved. A man living in Europe had offered her a chance to work in his company. He had even promised to help her settle there. He was successful, wealthy, and according to the messages he sent, he admired her honesty and determination. He had even suggested that if everything went well, they might eventually marry. To Amina, it felt like destiny. To Zara, it felt like theft, because everything her sister described sounded like the life Zara had always imagined for herself. The elegant apartments, the foreign cities, the rich husband, the escape from the dusty streets of their town. That night, Zara could not sleep. While Amina slept peacefully beside her, Zara stared at the ceiling in the darkness. Her thoughts grew louder with every passing hour. Why her sister? Why not her? They looked similar. They were almost the same height, with a little makeup and the right clothes. People could easily mistake them for each other. Slowly, an idea began forming in Zara's mind. At first, it seemed crazy, impossible. But the more she thought about it, the more possible it began to feel. The next morning, Amina left early to prepare for her flight in 2 days. She still had many errands to complete before leaving, and for the first time in years, Zara was alone in the room. She looked at her sister's suitcase, then at the small wooden drawer beside the bed. Inside that drawer was the envelope that contained Amina's passport, her visa, her boarding pass. Zara stood there staring at it, her heart beating faster. All she had to do was take it. Just once. Just one decision, and her entire life could change. For a long moment she hesitated, but jealousy is a powerful voice. And that morning, Zara listened to it. She took the envelope. 2 days later, the airport was crowded with travelers, heading in every direction. Families hugged each other goodbye. Suitcases rolled across the shiny floor, and Zara stood quietly in the check-in line, holding her sister's passport. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it, but no one looked twice. To them, she was just another traveler leaving for Europe. When the airline employee checked her passport, Zara forced herself to stay calm. The woman glanced at the photo, then at Zara, then stamped the documents. Have a safe flight. Just like that, the first barrier was gone. Zara walked toward the boarding gate, feeling a rush of excitement she had never experienced before. She imagined the life waiting for her. Paris streets, luxury apartments, a rich husband, a life far away from the struggles she had always known. The plane took off just after sunset. The city lights below slowly disappeared into darkness. For hours, Zara sat in her seat, dreaming about the future she believed was waiting for her. She even imagined how surprised her sister would be when she discovered the truth. By the time Amina realized what had happened, Zara would already be living the life that should have been hers. At least, that was what she believed. But somewhere above the clouds, fate was quietly preparing a very different plan. Several hours into the flight, the captain's voice suddenly came over the speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, due to unexpected documentation verification procedures, we will be making a temporary stop before continuing to our final destination. Most passengers barely reacted, but Zara felt a small knot form in her stomach. The plane landed in a country she had never heard mentioned in the flight announcement. When the passengers stepped off the plane briefly inside the airport terminal, Zara noticed something strange. Several officials were checking documents again. More carefully this time. When it was her turn, one officer examined the passport closely. Then he looked at her, then back at the passport. His expression changed. "Where are you traveling to?" he asked. "France," Zara answered confidently. The officer exchanged a look with another colleague. Then he said something that made her heart drop. "This visa does not match the secondary travel authorization in our system." Zara tried to remain calm. "I don't understand." The officer explained that the visa holder had been scheduled for a connecting verification stop before entering Europe, but the biometric information linked to the documents did not fully match. Within minutes, Zara was escorted into a small office. Her passport was taken. More questions followed. The officials realized something was wrong, but instead of sending her to Europe, the system redirected her travel authorization to a completely different country. A country connected to the visa processing network she had never expected. Hours later, she was placed on another plane, but this time, it was not flying toward France. When the plane finally landed again, Zara looked out the window in confusion. The airport looked nothing like the images she had imagined. There were no elegant European buildings, no French signs. Instead, she saw something unexpected. Mountains, dry landscapes, and signs written in a language she had never seen before. She had landed in Morocco, a place she had never planned to visit, a place where no one was waiting for her. No rich businessman, no luxury apartment, no glamorous life, just a completely unfamiliar country, with no plan, no contacts, and no way back. For the first time since she stole her sister's documents, Zara felt real fear. The life she had tried to steal had disappeared somewhere between the clouds. And now she stood alone in a foreign country she had never even imagined visiting. Days passed, then weeks. With the help of a small group of travelers she met in the city, Zara slowly found temporary work. It was not glamorous. It was not easy. But it forced her to face a truth she had spent years avoiding. Life was not something you could steal. It was something you had to build. And slowly, in a country she had never expected to see, Zara began building a life of her own. But the real twist of fate came almost a year later, when a wealthy European businessman arrived in the same city for a charity event. A man who had originally planned to meet a woman named Amina. The woman who never arrived, and when Zara saw him across the room, she realized something that made her heart stop. Destiny had not abandoned her. It had simply taken her somewhere she never expected to find it. Because sometimes the life we try to steal is not the life we were meant to live.